Delighted, Martin and I, to be joined in the studio by Let's Talk Racing's own Andrew Blair White, and furthest away from me, the milk tray man himself.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. This was supposed to be a preview of Wetherby, Ascot and Down Royal at the weekend, but unfortunately Down Royal is cancelled. A disappointing time.
Yeah, very much so. We're struggling to get any meetings on at the moment. Fakenham was called off after one race today, and just seems to be the way, unfortunately, at Ireland. Thurles manages to go ahead tomorrow at the moment. I don't know how, but Down Royal is gone on next week, so we'll have a bumper next week instead.
So instead we'll be touching on Cheltenham, the interesting performances from there over the weekend, and looking ahead to Wetherby for their big Charlie Hall Chase meeting where Brave Man's Game runs. A couple of other performances we need to touch on as well. Looking forward to this. If you do enjoy it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do get your comments down below. But before we start, it is important that we talk about King of Answers, who unfortunately has picked up an injury that might rule him out for the season. It's all a bit up in the air at the moment. Just a bit gutted for the team.
Very much so. Look,
ran so well in that bumper.
Yeah, he did. He ran with plenty of promise, and obviously for Cam, who's running the whole thing, you know, it's not easy running a syndicate, as you well know from your days with Under La Senière. So unfortunately, you know, these things happen in racing. You know, you're not always going to have a clean way of going about things, and I think what the key thing is that they've identified it at an early stage. They're going to mend it, and hopefully we'll still have a decent horse to go to war with next season, or maybe at the back end of this season. And good to see Cam, I think, is doing everything he can at the moment, potentially get
another horse,
get another horse this year to kind of fill up this season, and then I hope that if people enjoy that, they'll be able to go down the route of potentially owning both horses next year.
I know. Yeah, I do feel for Cam, and I do feel for the team, and hopefully King of Answers can return just as good as he was in that third in the bumper. Let's touch on Cheltenham. We've had 2 days of racing at Cheltenham. It was superb to be there on the Saturday, and thank you very much to all of the Let's Talk Racing viewers who came up and said hello. We were also on the Friday Club on Friday night. How was that, mate?
Yeah, it was great fun. I managed, it was a little bit being like in a bomb zone, but yet I didn't get a bomb on me.
No, I'll insert a few clips here.
We went for home probably a little bit soon this summer with our horses to follow. I think we started.
How soon?
Guineas weekend.
Got to say, Andrew, that's the poshest Irish accent I've ever heard.
I've been told this. Yeah.
I've got to admit, I was a fan and I was lonely. I was looking for a friend, so I was over the moon when he messaged back. I'd messaged 50 people before. I haven't told you that, but Andrew was the only one who replied, and it just blossomed from there. Yeah.
Like I remember the Supreme Novices where I told everyone the Duvan would win. He won, and I'm walking around, people almost putting me on shoulders. A few years later, I do the same, putting Mellon up. Very original, obviously, these Willie Mullins favourites, but Mellon got beat, and then Jesus, I couldn't find a friend all week.
I had no one my age that would even listen to me, to be honest, about racing or most things.
But so this is you as a young teenager, or was that your sister?
That was me. I'm not sure how that's got on there, but I went through a phase where I loved myself a bit, and maybe wearing this or something tonight, I still do.
Yeah, but has it ended yet?
No, maybe not.
Delighted, Martin and I, to be joined in the studio by Let's Talk Racing's own Andrew Blair White, and furthest away from me, the milk tray man himself.
What's he thinking? For a start, there's a pecking order at Racing TV for Rollnecks. Passad, numero uno.
He bought a horse called Romeo Coolio for 420 grand. He won a point to point, and there are whispers and there are vibes that he's particularly good.
As Josh will well know, I'm probably Paul Nolan's biggest fan in the world.
The day P asked to meet especially, did he?
Yeah, it was a big day for him. Yeah.
It wasn't easy, was it?
No, it wasn't. You were getting a fair few pelters. Good to have, obviously, Nick Lightfoot and Martin Dwyer keeping us on our toes, and certainly not getting things easy on our big Friday night debut. But
instead I've sold my roll neck, and instead I've bought something that's slightly further down the neck.
A little bit of a hybrid sort of operation. I think that's a pretty good play, mate. You still get the style of the roll neck, but not the abuse.
Exactly. That's my plan. But Cheltenham We'll flick through a few of the big performances there. I thought Affadil was really disappointing in the first race, must say. Not sure what he will do. We'll have to see him again. But the first big talking point is my mate Mozzie, who won the 2-mile novices chase. Are we talking about an Arkle horse here, or...?
He's the type of horse that might run in an Arkle. You know, I've seen horses like him turn up in an Arkle, they come 4th or 5th. There'll be slightly also rounds. It's a bit like Course Sublime back in the day. He's a good horse. He travels very well, doesn't find much off the bridle, barely even gets 2 miles. He was delivered very well by Keith Donoghue. I don't think it was much of a race.
No.
Don't think we can look too much into it.
The 2.5-mile novices hurdle.
This was, I tweeted about this, and I think it was an apt description of how I felt. Obviously, big Villa fan myself, big fan of Jack Grealish, always have been, always will be. And him going on to be so influential for Manchester City last year, winning the treble. You know he's a good player. You know you like him. But he's not playing for your team, and there was a bit of a killing feeling inside me. Obviously, great to see the horse win like that.
Just for context, Encanto Bruno.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we didn't get that. Well, I think at this stage people know who I'm talking about. Bruno. He was incredibly impressive. He won very easily. Not sure about the overall form of the race. Mel Monroe's a decent mare for Gordon. Tagman's a solid horse for Henry, but no more than that. He's the type of horse that probably will run in a Ballymore or something like that. But down the line, I don't think he'll win a Ballymore. I'm on side. I do really like the horse. I'd be lying to suggest I wouldn't prefer him still to be with John McConnell. Of course I would be, but these things happen in racing. Gavin Cromwell's done very well to get this horse around after what was a poor effort at Galway.
Adel Kaboo was very good on his chasing debut. I think that he would have a chance in a December Gold Cup, something like that.
Yep.
I hold my hands up. Look away, proved me wrong. Went from the front, never saw a rival, was very good.
Neil King is the king.
Neil King.
That's why he changed his surname.
Neil King, yeah, I was impressed with him. I think he would definitely feature in those 2 mile to 2.5 mile grade ones this year. I'm not sure he'll win one, but I think that he might feature in them and possibly place.
Yeah, potentially. So interesting though, he's been raised £10. Obviously he was a rick off 122. They didn't use it. That's what we were giving out about last week. But he's off 132. Surely he goes very close in a Greatwood off 132.
Is that where he's going to go?
I think that's where they're planning on. That's what Neil King was alluding to. And considering the amount of money you'd win for winning a Greatwood, it'd be remiss of him not to.
It would. Blue King Daru won the Holdings Hurdle on Saturday. It hurt a little bit, the fact that the Nichols horse went off 5-2 at Cheltenham and was unbacked by me. But I didn't fancy him. He was good. I think the race will turn out to be pretty poor. We had the first Pertemps qualifier. Highland won. I think looking at the 4 horses that qualified, Dubrovnik Harry, Flight Deck, Judicial Law and Highland, I think the only one you can really take out of it is the winner, who went up to 135, 136. I think if he wins or places in another race, he'll obviously get into the final. I think Dubrovnik Harry has to win to get in. Flight Deck won't be winning a Pertemps final. In Judicial Law, I don't know. Just another one of those sneaky Gunjo horses like an Ontoyeur.
Potentially so. Like he might finish 7th or 8th in a Pertemps. I'd be very, very shocked if we're turning up in March looking at this race as being our angle into that race.
Butch won for Ollie Murphy and Ella McNeil. Well, the McNeil family. I was working with her on the day. It was a very good day, and Murph, having winners at Cheltenham, was superb. Flooring Porter made his chasing debut. Guess you a few. Took a few chances, but in the end ran out a decent winner. I think if he's at his very best and he jumps well and it's decent ground and the race is as poor as it looks at this stage of the season, he would have a chance in a 3-mile Brown Advisory. But how often are you going to get all of those? He has to be at his best. He has to then jump well. The ground has to be good for him and the race has to be poor. You're just not going to get all those 3, are you?
I don't think so, and I don't think the race will be poor, actually. I think there's an awful lot of decent enough horses going. Novice chasing this year. None of them seem to be staying hurdling, which makes no sense. He was impressive, yeah. I think actually 1 or 2 of the mistakes, without being too cribby, Keith Donoghue's obviously riding out of his skin. I thought a couple of them were a slight jockey error. Certainly the one at 6 out, he belted him into it, full on, miles from the fence, and the horse barely got there, kind of almost got him out of trouble. He's a very, very good horse. It's good to see him back winning. Good to see him back probably in novice company against horses like Broadway Boy. Like if he ran against Broadway Boy in a hurdle race, he'd give the horse £30. So, he should be beating him. He has been beating him, but I think, you know, he's potentially got a chance come March.
Doesn't scream a chaser, does he? He's quite a small horse.
He doesn't know. Like, when you looked at him in comparison to We've All Been Caught, who obviously finished third, like, he is
a mountain.
He is a gigantic horse of all capabilities. And of course, in the last race, horses to follow watchers,
The Campbell Brewery,
will have been in clover. LTR Ultra followers in absolute clover. He looks quite good, that horse.
I think he does as well. I do. I was disappointed with the Paul Byrne horse that Willie sent over. But I think the Campbell Brewery is a pretty good horse. Another few performances to note, we had Chepstow as well. Paul Nicholls ran a bumper horse called Captain Bellamy. LTR Ultra viewers would have heard of him at this stage. He is very good.
Yeah.
I'm in love.
Yeah, he looked very impressive. And for every Paul Nicholls horse that you raise me, I'll raise you a Paul Nolan horse back. And as much as I will...
And Masaccio, sorry.
Masaccio was very impressive as well. Yeah, horses to follow going absolutely superb. Bowen's Park is out today when people are watching this. He's running at Stratford, so hopefully that keeps on going. But yeah, I know it was a poor enough race at Galway, but a horse just named Release the Beast.
You did like him. Paul Nolan. Is he the next one?
Well, he's 6-1 into even money, one with his head in his chest. Poor race, yes. They're going to have to run him in a graded race next time out. I just love a horse named Release the Beast.
That's a good name. Going back to Captain Bellamy, are we seeing him, because obviously it's a tricky one. Paul Nicholls usually runs his good bumper horses at Ascot in the listed race, and then they go to Aintree and they skip Cheltenham. But last year he had a bit of success with Captain Teague, who finished third in the champion bumper. Do you think now that's happened that Paul might be slightly more inclined to go down that route, or do you think he'll go soft and send him to Aintree?
I would still think he'll go soft, to be honest. I think they were kind of almost pitching Captain Teague in just in the hope he ran well.
Yeah, but I think
year.
he won a Fauntleroy Plumpton bumper, didn't he? So yeah,
they kind of didn't know much about him. He looked incredibly impressive. Whether you want to go and run as big a horse as him, point to point background in a champion bumper, it's not really the way Nicholls does it.
No. Well, he wins the shallow hurdle next year. He wins the Quarter Star the year after, and then he probably wins 3 King Georges. So
nothing major.
Nothing major with him.
Okay.
No, really looking forward to seeing him. Right, now let's preview. We've got 3 races to preview. We'll have some best bets at the end. It's going to be short and sharp because the disappointment of Down Royal and those smart Gordon Elliott horses coming out. I was really looking forward to seeing them. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
Oh, well, we had a beginner's chase from the gods lined up on Friday.
So
Corbett's Crawl, Xander C, American Mike, Your Old Flame.
The bumper horses in there as well. Romeo Coolio was going to run.
Firefox was going to run.
Firefox. It was just so good.
Stop.
Unfortunately,
we're disappointing ourselves.
Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. The first race we're going to preview is the 150 at Wetherby on Saturday. It's the 2 miles Bet365 Mares handicap hurdle. It's also not a handicap, it's just a mares hurdle listed race. And this is an interesting one because you've got You Wear It Well, who won the mares novices, Katira, who the Skeletons love, and Lucia, who's the biggest price of the 3, who's probably more of the 2 miler out of the 3. I can't work it out. I'd be on Lucia here, I think. And I think I'd be comfortably on Lucia. Katira's 2-1. I know she's looked good and stuff, but I'm not sure she should be that price.
No, me neither, to be honest. I agree with you about Lucia. I wonder, just there's an awful lot of unrest with her in the market. I don't know whether that's on account of the soft ground, whether she'll run, whether she might be kept for a Jerry Field, and I'm not so sure. Obviously, in theory, she's got some of the nicest pieces of form. That being said, she was beaten, fair and square by You Wear It Well at Cheltenham in similar enough conditions, 2 miles soft ground. I think You Wear It Well will go from the front. I think she'll be tough to pass, to be honest. I think with a horse like that, for a trainer like Jamie Snowden, I suspect he'll have her potentially a small bit further down the line than maybe a Nicky would have a Lucia.
Bet365 hurdle coming up, the West Yorkshire Hurdle Grade 2 contest. Time Hill goes back hurdling. He's 2-1 favourite. Dashwell Drasher in there. Botox has a Hoisey Muir. I think it's going to go to the Charlie Hall, although hopefully they think of another plan with him and go to this race, because I'd like to see him go down that stairs hurdle route. Just a really tricky race to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky race, and if we're calling a spade, it's a poor race. I was scratching my head with why Maximilian wasn't entered, actually in account of the fact that the horse has picked up a little knock. He's going to be out for a week or something like that. He's on a day of box rest or something like that. But I looked at this race initially and I saw he wasn't entered, and you will well know I near on had a breakdown in work, because This is poor.
It is poor. And
I couldn't tell you. Time Hill's probably the best horse in that race, but I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him these days.
it's poor because it's the first Stayers hurdle race. It's his first staying hurdle graded race. Not one of these horses is going to feature.
Well, you're just going to turn up you're genuinely going to turn up in a long walk hurdle in 2 or 3 months' time, and we're going to be talking about who's going to win between Paisley Park and Champ again. Mm-hmm. And 2 great horses in their own right, but there is absolutely nothing coming from left field.
They need to send a hoist in your back hurdling.
They do.
They do. The Charlie Hall then is the final race we're going to preview. Again, like we said, short and sharp. Brave Man's Game runs here. The right decision, Paul. You know you wanted to win the second King George, and this was definitely the play on hopefully ground that's going to be better than it would have been in the Betfair Chase at Haydock. Brave Man's Game, Harry Cobden. I get to see my favourite horse this weekend, and I cannot wait. So excited.
You have lost the plot.
The Hoist in Your is going to run Gentleman's Game, who I do actually think is a really good horse, but I'm not sure he'll be good enough to beat Brave Man's Game around Wetherby here. A good few interesting ones in there. I Right, Midnight River, Pick Dory won't run. He'll go to Ascot. I really like Gentleman's Game, and I do think that he'll put up a challenge to Brave Man's Game, but I think Brave Man's Game is just going to be a bit too classy, and I'm so happy he's running.
He's just an incredibly good horse. I think it's very hard to get over that. He's rated 172 for a reason. His form is there for a reason.
Yeah.
He was so impressive in this race last year where I tried to get him beat. Gentleman's Game, I'm with you. Really, really like the horse. He has some very good pieces of form considering he's been in and out from an injury perspective. It's just an enormous ask. You've gone from winning a beginner's chase at Leopardstown at Christmas, then got injured again, finished second to Easy Game in the PWC. Well, it's a different kettle of fish running up against the Gold Cup second there.
It is. Hopefully Brave Man's Game can return in style. Very quickly, best bets. I've got one. It'll come in the first race at Ascot on Saturday, and if he runs Saturday. If he runs, it'll be Immortal. Freddie Gordon takes a ride, takes off £6 for Nicky Henderson. Immortal, I think, is one of the most well-handicapped horses in training.
Yep, I can see that.
I really, really liked him. He finished second in Novice Hurdle behind Authorised Speed. He then finished second in Novice Hurdle behind Gavega, rated 110. Freddie Gordon takes off 6. He's running off effectively 104. Obviously, you'd prefer a Nico de Boinville on him, whatever. I really, really like this horse. Second run after a wind up. I think he'll go and win the first.
Yeah, I can see that. That's the 12.55 at Ascot. We've been told to enter the race times as well. I'm taking the comments on board. 2 for me, 3 o'clock at Wetherby on Friday. No risk day flow. Firm favourite of mine. Likes Wetherby, likes this track, likes the trip. And you wear it well. The 150 at Wetherby on Saturday. The Mayor's Hurdle, I think at 2 to 1, she's a fair price.
There we go. We do hope you enjoyed this video. Short and sweet. We'll see you soon.